Hello, you. Yes, you. This is Osayome Sale from Ways Primetime. Now, we appreciate your continued support for watching our content, following us across all our social media. But we've noticed, for those of you watching us on YouTube, 88.5% of you who watch our content aren't subscribed to our channel. Why? Now, if you are enjoying our content, you enjoy our shows, and you want to stay updated on all things Ways, it's time to hit that subscribe button below. Now, subscribing isn't just for you. It's for the growth of our channel. It helps us get bigger and better. With your support, we can continue to bring even more intriguing and exciting content. How about you subscribing right now and being a part of our community?
Nigeria, and welcome to another fresh episode of Ways Breakfast hashtag What Are You Saying? Now, this is a platform where the voices of the youth are amplified on issues ranging from politics to governance, mental health, technological innovation, and what have you. Today is Wednesday. That means this is our special mental health segment and episode, and I am glad to have you join us today. My name is Oluchi Omenka, and of course, I'm not riding solo. I came with the ladies, the full squad. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Our usual harmonious response. Good morning. How are you doing today now?
I'm beautiful. How are you?
I'm good. I'm really good. I'm full of gratitude because I had the best of news yesterday.
I love
And I'm
it.
here again. And I'm just so happy, honestly. I've been very joyous since yesterday till this morning. Don't worry, I'll give you the
have
full
colds.
gist after the show.
Colds.
You
I'm
have
under
cold.
the weather.
Oh,
So I don't know if I'm feeling great, but I'm just fine. Just
I love
alright.
it.
I'm glad to see you. You look sharp, by the way.
I mean,
Ooh,
energy.
thank you.
How about you, God's beauty?
Like I said, I'm beautiful. You know, I just
always.
yeah. I was speaking to someone today, this morning, and I think this is just me having to tell people that stay motivated. You know, the truth
Yes.
is, lots of things are really going on. Let's not even talk about the problem that we have in the country. Even
power
though,
grid thing.
yeah, and even apart from that, there's just a whole lot happening, right? But again, stay motivated.
Please
You're
stay
beautifully
motivated.
made. Know that God got you. You get so yeah.
And you know, Wednesday's program are usually very tailored to help your state of mind. So in case you're feeling very overwhelmed, this is the show to tune into.
Yes,
This next
yes.
1 hour is going to help your mind relax.
Exactly.
I think so.
That's
All
why
right,
I'm always
please, if you're
here.
yet to subscribe to our YouTube channel, please go to the official of Great TV, click the subscribe button, turn on your notification, and be part of our conversation. Right now, we're currently live across all our social media platforms, including TikTok. So please engage us. We'd really love to engage with you. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll look to the headlines across the Nigerian newspaper and, of course, the New York Times. So please stay with us. We'll be right back shortly. All right, welcome back and thank you for staying with us. You're still tuned into Waves Breakfast, and right now, I want to look at the headlines making waves across the Nigerian newspaper. We have The Punch, The Guardian, and The New York Times. The Punch major headline reads, Marketers plan petrol imports to bridge shortfall. Dangote not producing enough to meet domestic demand currently, dealers claim, and Ipman loads NNPCL PMS. Above that, it says, fresh crisis hits Rivers as pro-Fubara Wike lawmakers clash. Federal government plans cash transfer for 20 million poor Nigerians. Government hires SAN for Lagos Calabar highway suit. Damagum gets reprieve, leads Ondo campaign. High petrol price pushes inflation to 32.7%. Oyon Dam, anxiety grips Ogun community over fresh flooding. Naira among worst performing currencies, says World Bank. All right, that's all we have for the Punch newspaper. Of course, the one that I'm going to talk about is the one that concerns us on a daily basis, which is the oil thing. So we're having on that back and forth again, and marketers are saying that the acclaimed barrels that Dangote refinery said they were going to be supplying, which was 25 million, is not what is. I mean, in reality, because it's not up to, and they are looking for ways to augment by now resorting to the importation that we're thinking we have escaped from. So I'm wondering what happened.
Like there's so many things on the ground. This whole oil thing, Dangote,
You know what
the
I feel? I feel like nobody's telling us the
everything.
full story. I think we don't really understand what's really going on. Because today
Exactly.
we're reading this 25 million. Tomorrow now, Dangote will say, okay, it's still 25 million. Some have gotten this back again, NNPCL. What's really going on?
There was a long quarrel about pricing. The price that is being sold is not real. This. So I feel like even the news should do better because we need so much information.
So much
But
information.
again, it's
understand, and we're
until
not
they
getting it.
they too, they are also like us too. The difference is they have just tried to put in their hands in one or two places that we are not putting our hands in.
Do you know what
So
I think?
They
I
too
think
are
these
locked
private
out on
marketers
what's
from
going
the
on.
beginning, they wanted to steal imports, regardless of what Dangote
The
refineries
money that
are
they're going to get
because
from
of-
importation is amazing. I mean, it's in millions. You see, if I trade with you, like locally, of course I'm going to profit less than when I
Yeah.
trade internationally.
Internationally,
Just
yeah.
like when they take food stuffs from here in Nigeria abroad to sell. Of course, I know how much I'm going to sell it abroad. So
mean-
there's this low-key greediness that is
Yes.
happening, and that's
Exactly.
why there's so much news about it.
And that's why they are so keen on still going back to import. Because the
Importation.
essence of even having the Naira currency help our local
Yeah.
exchange is to just help our currency. I mean, why go back to importing? I think we should just fix the whole Dangote refinery thing and let's see how that grows. We just even started. Let's give it 6 months.
The
and
other
see how it
refinery
grows.
that they say will be kickstarting. You know, it's that the word they like using, kickstarting. What's going on with that?
course,
Sometimes
you know,
when you want to start something,
It takes a while. I mean, look at Dangote refinery. It didn't just come up. It took a long time.
But you know,
Let's
but
hope
they,
that-
the problem is they gave us date though. Yes,
Did
now.
they?
Yes, now. They said in the next 1 month, in the next 2 weeks, we are like, oh, appreciating, wonderful, excellent. It's going to happen.
You're gonna have to be
things,
patient.
Machine.
meetings.
It's how you're giving them excuse.
I have to because I mean it's Nigeria.
It's Nigeria.
But
Right,
this
let's
is
see
me.
the Guardian,
Thank
newspaper.
you. This is me taking you through the Guardian newspaper. The headline reads: World Food Day, inflation weary Nigerians begging and borrowing for survival. And the story beside it says Nigeria others may need 100 years to end extreme poverty, says World Bank. Court sentences teenagers to 5 years imprisonment for sexual assault. And below that, we have your policies punishing Nigerians. Professional bodies tell Tinubu. Abbas flays 10,000 naira monthly upkeep for pensioners. And then the Lagos Red Line Rail begins operations to move 500,000 passengers daily. And the last story reads, Power Minister denies multiple grid collapses, blames minor trip-off. I think I want to talk about so many things, but let me first start with this.
The prediction.
This grid,
Okay, the
this grid thing. IKEDC came said that is the grid collapsed and that's why we did not have light for I think Monday, Tuesday,
Yeah.
and up till this morning. And so people still don't have light till this morning. So where is the communication between the minister and the organization that is in charge of this thing? If you are coming to deny multiple grid collapsing, and EKEDC is saying that the grid collapsed for the 6th time in 2024, and you're just saying a minor trip-off that took 24 hours to get back on. So, as I said, there's so many...
Get back on where?
No, on Monday, it actually, as at 6,
Well, in my area, since it tripped, nothing has gotten back on.
well, the news was as at 6 p.m. on Monday, it went back off again.
Okay.
And then
it was a temporary thing.
Yes, and then they started fixing it, and that's why they said minor trip off. And then for this food thing, there's so much hunger in the land, that we know for a certain. Then for World Bank to now be saying 100 years, where will I be in 100 years? For this poverty to leave me.
That prediction is so... How do they even predict this thing? Like 100 years?
100 years, like...
Who will be
I'm
alive?
trying to imagine. Because I sincerely don't want to I don't want to be here at 100 and plus my age. I'm not sure I want to be here. I want to go and rest with the Lord. So I don't know how this 100 years span came about, but I don't think it's encouraging for us to know that it's going to take that long.
To
And
totally
they said May end.
So
It
this
means
one
that
not
there's
even
it's never going to end. Full stop.
To just touch on that power grid, whatever. My problem is if eventually, like, for every time that it falls or whatever trips or all the big English they're using collapses. Now, why is it that they don't get like good instruments or whatever that they're replacing, to work on it? So it's always collapsing. Like, why? I wish we can actually have this as a conversation, so that probably someone in the PHCN has to explain to us what is going on, or discuss in general. I really don't know. So is it that, if something gets bad today, you have to buy something to replace it, but you have to ensure that whatever you're using to replace is something that is original, something that would last. Not every minute we are hearing
I can talk about budgetary, because I also know that everything has a lifespan. If you buy a phone, the manufacturer already knows that in 3 years I want this battery to start failing, so that you can buy another one. Do you understand? Every manufacturer always like has a lifespan for something. So I feel like for it to have collapsed, like, the 6th time in this year, you're supposed to know now that this thing needs...
Whatever that they're buying is not working. Is it made in Nigeria? Made in Aba?
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Oh my God. Please, let's go international and see what the New York Times...
All right. So there's really nothing going on, that much in the New York Times, but I'll just take the headlines. So by the right side of the newspaper, we have captured by Israeli army and used as living shields. By the left side of the newspaper, Harris fighting to bring back a trusted bloc. Next to that, some belief in Trump without believing in him. I really don't know what that is, because it's one thing to say that you're believing in him, but at the same time, you're not sure if what the things that he's saying is something that is going to act on, right? So during the first time when he became president of the United States, most of the things that he said he was going to do, he actually fulfilled them. So this time around, that he has already, he has made some threat already. That I'm looking at it as a strategy, political strategy. So, people that want to vote him, people that want to vote him in are saying, okay, what if at the end of the day, we don't vote him now and he enters the seat? That means all these things he has been saying, he definitely would do them. So there's just a bit of skepticism and all. Honestly speaking, on this story, I don't tire.
Why are you focused on me? Let us wait till the day.
And then, honestly, I think
November
till the
5
day we'll
is
know
here
what's
already.
going on.
But do you know it's funny how...
Tell me.
We all know what day the Western election is, but we always struggle to know when local elections are. So this is me telling you people, you guys need to do better. Leave international people alone. Let us treat our problems. Let us treat our problems locally, please.
Let me tell you the gist. Other people's story is sweeter for you to hear and talk about than focusing on your own problem. So yeah, that's why we know.
All right, so by the bottom of the newspaper, we have the Kmart chef's MT of all. Then next to that, we have India's diplomats are expelled by Canada in criminal inquiry. Beneath the newspaper, which is the last headline on the newspaper, has, despite shaking baby doubt, a man may be executed in Texas. And that's all the headline I have for you on the New York Times. If there's anyone interesting you, of course, you can go check it out on their website.
Can I talk about this shaking baby
Tell me,
thing?
sure.
On the New York
I don't
Times?
think, yes, on the New York Times, I don't think that there's enough awareness about the shaken baby syndrome. And I recently read about it, and that's how maybe somebody who is aggressive or abusive would maybe take your baby out of anger, and then maybe the baby is crying, it's like, stop crying, and they will rigorously shake that baby.
Okay.
And at some point, the baby, that skin can lead to seizures, and in most cases lead to death. That's why I said a lot of people are not talking about it, which I actually read on TikTok the most, that they are actually talking about it now on TikTok, that the shaking baby syndrome, be careful who you give your baby to, watch how your baby sleeps, you know, and all of that stuff. So it's a very big issue.
Concerning this baby thing, there is something that has been debunked lately. You know, our mothers, when they want to bath babies, you know that thing, they'll carry one of their hands and shake.
Yes.
I'd seen my mother do that to many children because she usually bath my cousins and all. And then I read and also researched that it is a bad way of birthing for these children because you could cause dislocation and like terrible harm to their
even blood gets into the
them,
brain.
It's more like they're making the child stress.
Exactly.
You know,
it's like a skill in Omugo.
They'll
Like
say
you
that
can shake the baby well.
They'll say that they did it for all of us and we turned out fine. But
That's
I always try to let the older people know that times and seasons have changed, especially weather, the ozone layer, all of this, the climate, immune system have changed. So they need to move ahead from.
Please stop shaking babies like this.
Baby
Shake them like this.
like a rattle.
This is something
All right,
else.
that's all we can take for the headline stories. We'll have to take a short break now. When we return, start the conversation for today properly. And we have an expert guest who will be joining us. So stay with us. We'll be right back shortly. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. So today is Wednesday. On Wednesdays, it's our mental health segment and episode. And today we're discussing managing anxiety for professionals. I'll give you background information. Anxiety is increasingly becoming a prominent issue in professional settings, affecting individuals' performance, productivity, and overall well-being. The fast-paced nature of work, high demand, tight deadlines, job insecurity, and the expectation to constantly perform at high levels can contribute to elevated stress and anxiety among professionals. According to the World Health Organization, work-related stress is a major cause of anxiety and other mental health problems globally. Anxiety, when unmanaged, can lead to burnout, decreased job satisfaction, and physical health issues. It's crucial for professionals to adopt strategies that helps them recognize, manage, and reduce anxiety to maintain both mental and emotional well-being. Employers and organizations also have a role in creating supportive work environments that prioritize mental health and well-being. The discussion today aims to provide insight into understanding the sources of professional anxiety, practical ways to manage it, and how companies can support their employees in this aspect. Of course, we're not having this discussion alone. We have a guest, a mental health enthusiast and expert who is joining us today. His name is Chinedum Anayo. He is a media consultant and advocate for mental health awareness and is the media consultant for the Balancing Pains and Gains in the Pursuit of Happiness series, which focuses on combating anxiety and depression. Chinedum Anayo is currently the media assistant to a member of the House of Representatives, and he believes in the power of community and open dialogue to foster healing and resilience. Good morning, Mr. Chinedum. How are you doing today?
Good morning. I'm doing perfect. I'm doing great.
I can see that from over here. We're glad to have you join us today. Today is mental health episode and segment, and of course, we talk very serious things from the beginning of the week. You know, we'll talk business and tech later on this week, but we have to give what's it called now? Emphasis to our mental health, our state of mind, and how we are feeling and coping emotionally. So today, we want to discuss managing anxiety for professionals. Firstly, let's even start with understanding what anxiety means, because I don't want us to mistake this for just depression or burnout or any of those fancy words that we use. What are the things that you could use to note and state that a particular professional is probably exhibiting anxiety in the workspace? What does it even mean? Let's start with that basic one.
Okay. Firstly, anxiety, especially in professionals, is just mostly bothering about worry, nervousness, and some kind of fear. And it usually starts in the workplace. And most times, when we talk about anxiety in the workplace, it results to some kind of restlessness, tension, and sometimes like it also affects the concentration of a professional in their profession. So anxiety is like is a challenge, is a shortcoming in the professional world, especially. But if you're talking about anxiety outside professionals, it's still a problem, a huge problem in our society today. Previously in the morning when we were going through the newspapers and all the news stories coming up this morning,
Yeah.
they can cause anxiety. Cause anxiety. When we're talking about anxiety, it's like a broad challenge. Literally, a large percentage of citizens in Nigeria are facing. Not just Nigeria, the whole world generally.
All right, thank you very much for that.
So I would like to ask, I mean, this might be very unrelated, but I think I have my anxiety is only going to be heightened when maybe I am stressed and I have not eaten. I feel like that one can also increase anxiety because you know you're tense for the day and then now your stomach is empty. I don't know about any other person, no, but that's like my own take. And today being World Food Day and the fact that there's hunger in the land, don't you think that that has also increased? Maybe if we check statistics now, maybe last year, let's say maybe 10% people could have admitted to having anxiety at work. But now looking at 2024, what do you think the percentage would have become looking at all the problems that has happened in Nigeria now and people still going far distances to get to work and they're still having to cope with work pressure?
In my opinion, currently the anxiety rate is way higher. And I don't think there will be any exact statistics to actually indicate that because I don't think anyone, or I don't think a huge majority of Nigerians going through anxiety will actually say they're going through anxiety. You know, we are used to this notion of suffering and smiling. And when you relate to this, it's like going through anxiety and pretending not to be going through anxiety. So a huge percentage of Nigerians are actually anxious on a daily basis. Like even this morning, going to work, going to wherever anyone is going to, there's anxiety, especially with the fuel problem, where there's scarcity of petrol, the pricing of petrol, and all sorts of other social challenges. So anxiety in Nigeria is a very, very large problem. I don't think it's something that we can actually put our fingers on when we're talking about statistics.
Thank you.
Okay, so I mean,
And talking about your anxiety on feed, that's also anxiety. Anxiety doesn't have to be focused on anything official. It could be unofficial. Anxiety is just anxiety. People even have anxiety socially. People have anxiety economically. People have anxiety religiously. People have anxiety in all sorts. Like so, anxiety is very broad. It's not limited.
Okay.
all right. So I'd like to thank you so much. Thank you so much, Chinedum. It has been an interesting one having you here. So I'd want you to, expatiate or probably tell us the signs to watch out for when it comes to this anxiety thing. Now, how do we know that, okay, we don't they approach where we're not supposed to approach, right? And I would like you to expatiate on this, do I say these disorders called OCD and PTSD? Like, how do people get into this particular space? I really want to, understand how people get there. So is it from you being anxious and all of that, then before you know, we just enter,
Or it is
exactly, or
hereditary.
is it hereditary? God bless you. So I want to understand how people get into that space. Yeah.
Okay, okay, firstly, let me address the second one on how
Okay.
people get into that space.
Mm.
Nigeria is a country where we do not really pay attention to mental health.
True.
Very true.
When people go through mental health challenges, most times, especially in homes, let's start with families. They blame your mental situation on probably like religious ones will call it some kind of possession. Some others will call it they might push the blame on the person going through the anxiety, going through
Yeah.
the phase. And sometimes it doesn't help. In 2021, I wrote an article on. Then there was this trend of drug addiction in Nigeria. People were going into drug, and it seemed like the only solution recommended was force. They were using force on them, castigating them, treating them like we're not human beings and all kind of treatment. So, but in my recommendation, I recommended that we look into the main issues. What are the main issues? Why are they doing what they are doing? That's what you look into first. Why are people anxious? What causes anxiety? Why are people going through PTSD, post stress traumatic disorder? Why are people going through such? Because it is mental, and whether we like it or not, or whether we admit it or not, our mental health is the foundation of every other health. Because if you're mentally unstable, you will be physically unstable. If you're mentally unstable, you'll be socially unstable. If you're mentally unstable, you'll be politically unstable.
I agree.
And we pay little attention into all those issues. So I think, firstly, the first way to address anxiety is putting it into perspective, putting mental health into a huge importance and significance in our day-to-day lives. In schools, it should be emphasized. In churches, it should be emphasized. In offices, it should be emphasized. Even in political spaces, it should be emphasized. Using myself as an example, I first started anxiously in a way when I first dived into the media space. I was quite anxious because I was worried. Am I doing well? Am I meeting expectations? And at the point I almost hit rock bottom because I said to myself, I was like, after all that I've done, no results. So you see some kind of anxiety building up there, and anxiety leads to the danger called depression.
Yeah.
Because if you don't address anxiety first, you're heading into depression, and depression is way worse than anxiety. Anxiety could be addressed when critically examined.
Yes.
You look into the issues like in Nigeria now, anxiety is prevalent in workplaces. Because when you think about transportation, is a source of anxiety now. When you think about feeding, it's a source of anxiety. When you think about stability of the human mind, it's a source because you can't be in a workplace focusing on your job while thinking if your family have eaten.
Yeah.
You can't be in a workplace focusing on your job while thinking, how am I even going to get back home from the office? Because it is a challenge now. People go through all these challenges and people don't really pay attention to them. You can even, if you watch some videos online, you see where some issues are being focused on, but the main reasons behind the issues are not focused on. Many things that go on have a roots. We have to look at the roots and the foundation of all these problems. So when we talk about anxiety, the first thing, we have to first recognize that there is anxiety. Because if you don't recognize that there is anxiety, you cannot address the problem of anxiety. So first, to start with the solutions, you first look into what is going on. Is this anxiety? How do I address this anxiety? What is causing this anxiety? And you must take it head on. We can't keep on living in denial because that's like the easiest route for a huge percentage of Nigerians, they live in denial. Like they know what they are going through. They know they are going through hell, but they believe and accept that, no, I'm not going through hell. No, I'll do this. No, I can go through this. No, there's nothing wrong. It's not a crime to be anxious. It's normal. It's human. That's why we're humans. We're not supernatural beings. We're human beings. So we have a right to be anxious. We have a right to be worried. We have a right to be nervous. So firstly, we have to recognize what anxiety is, recognize the prevalence of anxiety in our society before we can start looking into other issues.
All right, sir. Thank you. But I think there's still a question I want us to answer. So the topic is managing anxiety in the workplace. I think a typical workplace is where people put up a lot of funds because it's a professional space. Everybody is all suited up. Some spaces have their workers in cubicles. So you're rarely even talking to anybody. Everybody's just facing their business. And it's very possible to be oblivious to some of these signs of anxiety. Of course, the general anxiety that we know, they tell us that there are physical symptoms like, shaking, restlessness, sweating, panicking, agitated speaking and all of that. But I'm considering this and I'm looking at a workspace where everybody pretends. If it's in your house, your wife, your kids can easily spot it and be wondering what's happening to you. But in a workspace, I want you to practically tell us, what are those signs to spot? How can I spot that this, my colleague, is actually so anxious and probably now call for help for that person? Please, let's make it very practical.
I'll list them I'll just list them in a more direct sense. Then I'll address them little by little.
Okay.
So first, if you look at your colleague, I think the first thing you could identify is he tensed? Is he restless? Yeah, because I don't think tension can be hidden.
Okay.
In one way or another, you could actually recognize if someone is tense, if someone is going through some kind of tension. So when you look at your colleague in the office and look, is this guy comfortable? Because the direct opposite of being tense is being comfortable. Is he comfortable in the workplace? Like when you look at him sit, is he looking comfortable? When you look at him stand up or address to some work-related issues, how does he address them? Does he address them in a tense manner? Is he under some kind that can lead to some kind of restlessness? And when he's tensed, because when tension comes in, restlessness follows, lack of concentration follows. You will notice some kind of low productivity, because when you check your colleague for a while, let's say he started work earlier, he wasn't going through such, then with time he started building, you'll be able to notice the difference. Okay, he was like this, he is now like this. What is bothering this person? What is going through his mind? So those are things you have to first identify, and the way to identify that is to show concern. We have to always show concern, because selfishness would make one not to pay attention to the issues of another. So when you imbibe selflessness in the workplace, you will notice little things. You will notice tension. You will notice restlessness. You will notice lack of concentration. You will notice some kind of. Just sometimes you can be in the workplace and you see, okay, out of 5 people in the workplace, only one is unnecessarily sweating.
Even when there's air conditioning.
Exactly. You know that this person is going through some kind of stress related issue. You know that this person is tense. So you have to first be able to put everyone like yourself, because even religiously we are told to love thy neighbor as thyself.
Yes.
And even socially and civically, we are given the responsibility to be selfless in nature. So when you imbibe those virtues first, you'll be able to notice what is wrong in my workplace, what is wrong with my colleague. So that's like the foundation of identifying someone going through anxiety.
Okay, before we go on this short break, just answer this question for me. For somebody who is socially awkward and a bit clumsy, people that they don't just want to relate with others in the workspace, can that be mistaken for anxiety as well, or the person is just introverted?
Yeah. In those areas, it's quite complex, because introverts also go through their own kind of anxiety. and extroverts go through their own kind of anxiety. So first off, you have to first identify the usual qualities of that person.
Person
Because if an introvert is always in a particular way and suddenly it deviates from that particular way, you know that something is wrong.
has gone wrong.
So, but I identify and I acknowledge that yes, there are people that are socially not like the rest of
Okay.
other people. They
All right.
interact in different ways. They do work in different ways. But we have to first identify what is different from how they used to act, especially in a workplace setting.
All right, thank you very much. We'll take a short break now. When we return, this remaining minutes that we have, we'll use it to address how to now manage it and prefer solutions to professionals. So please stay with us. We'll be right back shortly. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Today is Wednesday, like I've been saying for the past 20 minutes. We're discussing mental health and how to generally improve our emotional well-being. So we've been joined by an expert guest to help analyze and talk about managing anxiety for professionals. We've looked through the signs, the symptoms, the general causes, and now we want to dissect managing this and actually preferring solution. But before that, we have Okiki with a question for our guest.
Yes, I was asking in the background, in cases where I don't want to talk about my anxiety with anybody, or then as a colleague, as a selfless colleague, you have identified that I'm going through anxiety, but still I don't want to open up to you about it. How do I, as a person, now cope with anxiety? Because in so many cases, as you have said, anxiety leads to depression, leads to PTSD, OCD, and even leads to suicide in most cases. But how do I, as a person, now cope with anxiety and try to get rid of it?
Without asking for help?
Without asking for help, actually.
Okay.
Externally.
Okay. First, as a person, I think if you want to address your anxiety, because I think what guides us as human beings most times, whether we admit it or not, is fear. So when you discover the disadvantages or the consequences of anxiety not being managed, I think you'll be more pressured to kind of like not the negative pressure per se, but the like good pressure to address your anxiety. Because when you consider the end results of anxiety, because anxiety has negative effects. When you recognize that, okay, if I have anxiety, I do not want to share this, I want to deal with it myself. Firstly, you first identify what can my anxiety lead to. Anxiety in the workplace, for instance, can lead to burnout. It can lead to some kind of decreased job satisfaction. It can lead to, it can even, the funny thing is that, like I said earlier, anxiety has a relationship with physical health. So if you bring that into perspective and know that, okay, this is what this anxiety could lead me into, it could cause for me, I think you will first identify, okay, how can I address this? Okay, then first, how can I address this? Like I said earlier, you recognize and admit that I have anxiety. I'm going through anxiety. Secondly, you sit back and you think, you have some kind of reflection. You reminisce what has actually caused this anxiety over time. You know, sometimes if we sit back to ourselves and think thoroughly, we'll be able to identify one or two issues going on in our lives. So that's where time comes. You utilize your time. You sit back, you take out time and say, okay, how am I going to identify what causes my anxiety? How am I going to identify what causes this stress? How am I going to identify what causes this tension? So those are things you first start diving into. Then after you have sat back to reflect, then you say to yourself and say, okay, this anxiety, I do not want to share. I'm going to deal with this. So you express confidence. You express confidence. Say, okay, I'm confident enough to address my anxiety. I'm confident enough to say that I can go through this phase and I will come out of this phase. While you're addressing that confidently, it's very essential for you to begin to set out boundaries in your life. So you recognize that, okay, I've been able to identify and admit that I am going through some kind of anxiety, maybe in the workplace. I've been able to sit down and think, what causes my anxiety? So how do I balance my life? How do I balance my fight against anxiety while focusing on my usual and day-to-day life? Because if you pay high attention to anxiety, you could actually miss out on your day-to-day life, which could come in and bite you back and result to a deeper mental disorder. So you have to first balance and set up boundaries. Okay, what causes my anxiety? This is what causes my anxiety. How am I going to address it? Okay, my anxiety usually starts this way. My anxiety usually begins with this. So, okay, how can I manage this cause that leads to this anxiety? So those are things you first think about. Okay, how can I manage this cause that leads to anxiety? What causes this anxiety? How can I minimize and balance my life? What causes the anxiety? Is it environmentally related? Because sometimes it could some people could go through anxiety pre-workplace. Before they get to their workplace, they're already anxious.
Yes.
So you have to first identify, okay, how is this anxiety affecting me? How does it start? How does it build up? What do I think about? Sometimes human mind can be very, very deceiving. Something you just remember cause anxiety. Something you just think about cause anxiousness. So you first identify those things that causes this anxiousness. How do they come about? What brings them up? What brings them? Those are things you have to identify. If you do not want to do it with assistance, if you want to do it on your own, it takes a lot of time. And when I was covering balancing pains and gains, the convener of balancing pains and gains, he's a living testimony of pains and gains because he has gone through some pains and he has gone through some gains. So he balances them all. And him going through some pains and then going through some gains doesn't mean pains don't come again, even after he has passed through those pains. Those pains will keep coming. Anxiety will keep coming. So you balance them. Like his keyword is usually pick out your gains, weigh them. Sometimes you realize that your gains outweigh
More
your
than
pains.
pain.
Depends.
So that's another way to also fight the anxiety or what causes the anxiety. You balance your life. You balance, okay, what causes me to be anxious? Okay, I've been doing this for a while, and okay, anytime I begin this process, I develop this kind of anxiety. Okay, is it because I have been failing at this process? So anytime I start, I'm anxious. So you have to sit back and redress and go back. You go around your head like you
Mr. Chinedum, are you still with us? Or is not
actually
with us?
done
Okay, he's back.
well. Yes. What I've actually done well? What have I actually done well that causes this anxiety? And that what I've actually done well that can outweigh my anxiety? What I've actually done successfully that can outweigh this anxiousness I'm feeling? So those are things that you can use to build some kind of confidence because you need confidence to fight anxiety. You
Yeah.
build confidence. You say, no, I can do this. can fight this successfully. I've been through something and I moved forward. So why can't I do? Then another way, I think religion is very important in fighting anxiety.
Okay.
Like example, I'm a Christian, so I'll address it the Christian way. There's a scripture that says, "You be anxious for nothing." Where we're being told as believers to be anxious for nothing, cast your burdens onto
Cast your
me.
cares.
That was that was Jesus talking. So he's trying to tell you that while you're fighting this physically, you're fighting this on your own. You cannot actually seek for divine help because there's always divine intervention in every situation. So you can seek for divine intervention. You can like for Christians, the scriptures are valuable to all. So you can read your scriptures. Sometimes when you read those scriptures, it instills some kind of confidence in you. You say, okay, when you hear stories of people that have gone through similar situations and how they came out of it, how faith persisted, and at the end of the day, they were victorious. So those kind of things, those encouragements will actually help you. Since you want to do it alone, so it's best to seek all these kind of alternatives. So you go through your scriptures, then you in the scriptures you also see where where some stories which are similar to your situation, there are some solutions prescribed there. Did you understand? So when you go through those stories, you can relate it to your own situation. Do you understand? So I think there are other ways that I might not have mentioned, but I think these are like basic ways to start. At least when you start like this, with time, you'll be seeing some kind of result. And confidence is very key. Confidence is very key. You must be confident to address anxiety.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Chinedum. I would want to ask, since we're talking about managing, anxiety for professionals, that's the workspace. I want to ask, what are the responsibilities of employers when it comes to, promoting well-being among professionals? I mean, the employees, right? And back of my head, I want to also ask. I mean, given that the world is evolving and technology is here to stay, so what's the impact of technology when it comes to managing, anxiety? When it comes to like the individuals now.
Okay, let's talk about the workplace setting first.
Okay.
Sometimes you're actually right, because sometimes the nature of the workplace and the nature of the boss could affect the workers.
Sure.
Because there are some bosses that demand a lot, they're very demanding. And and like I said earlier, in Nigeria we pay very little attention to mental health. So it's more of a selfish gamble. He all he's concerned about is delivering, do the work. He's not concerned about how you're doing the work, what you're going through while you're doing the work. So first, there are situations where you have to know who you're working for and know if you're comfortable in that setting. Do you understand?
Yes.
Like when you get the job initially, you'll be able to be very observant as a new employee. So you should be able to be observant and know what kind of boss am I working for? What is his nature, and what is his nature of work? What does he expect? Is he too demanding, or is he less demanding? Is he the one that if I don't meet a particular deadline, he's not concerned about why? He's more concerned about me not meeting the deadline. So you have to know if you're comfortable in such a workplace, because it's not every workplace, every human being is comfortable. So you have to be comfortable in your workplace, know who you're working for, know even your colleagues, because they are in workplace setting, there are also colleagues that take everything as a competition. So you're under some kind of unnecessary pressure. Outdo yourself. And when you're under pressure to outdo yourself, anxiety comes in. Anxiety comes in, tension, you're tense, you're not settled, you're not stable, you're restless because of you have to meet a particular deadline. Because if you do not meet that deadline, your co-workers will meet it and you'll be queried. So you have to also observe your workplace, your boss, your colleagues, the objectives of the organization you're working for, because there are organizations that they have laid out objectives that if you do not meet, you're out.
Yeah.
And if you cannot even measure up, you'll be frustrated out. So you have to first think, can I work in this environment?
Okay.
Can I settle for this job? Will I feel, is this job good for my mental health? Because Nigerians need to focus on mental health. Many Nigerians are having a mental breakdown, but they won't admit it. So you have to focus on your mental health. Am I comfortable in this setting? Is this place going to favor me mentally, physically, socially?
You, will you leave?
Because working for someone goes both ways. You can't be working, giving in, and you're not getting anything. So you have to actually be gaining in your workplace. So those are things you consider initially. So I've forgotten the
Now,
second question you asked.
from the employer's view, what should the person employing you, what should he do? Because everything you stated now is what the employee should do, right? Ensure that, okay, where you're working is the place you're comfortable in. I mean, given the economic status, I'm sorry, but a lot of people will have to stay where they are and, you know, try to do better, or, I mean, try to work their way around it. But I'm thinking from the employer now, what do you think the employer should also do? I mean, an intentional employer that wants to make sure that, okay, the people that is working for me is okay and have, you know, good mental health and all of that. What do you think they should put in place, you know, to ensure that the professionals working with them are okay?
Yeah, that's actually very important to look at because, like you said, the problem most times are from the employers. Yeah, from the employers, because most employers are, I don't want to use the word selfish because it might sound harsh, but they are more ambitious personally. Like they have this ego of their job that needs to be satisfied to a level. It could be out of some kind of pressure from their other employers or some kind of pressure from the institutions that are regulating them. So there's this drive, and most times when they are driving for this level of performance, they are, like I said, very personally ambitious. They give little attention to the people working for them. So they don't even pay attention to the well-being of their workers. So as an employer that really cares, that really cares about his workers, that wants efficiency, that wants a perfect productivity, should focus on the mental health of his workers above all. And mental health, when you are focusing on mental health, it doesn't just mean you come in to work and you ask your workers how they are doing. No, you should pay attention to little things. We've heard many stories of workers that meet their employers for one or two complaints, and their employers even dismiss them just for complaining. There are workers that have met their employers just to seek for little support in one or two things that they are anxious about, and their employers they treat them like they're demons, or like they're after their businesses downfall. They chase them away. They are all kinds of harassment and all kinds of so employers too need to be very, very selfless in their workplace. They have to be very, very considerate when they are administering to their workers. And I think Nigeria generally has to also pay attention to this. I think there should be some kind of orientation given to employers and employees. Like every workplace should have a department that focuses, not just every workplace obviously has a human resource department that just commands. We're talking of like a department that focuses on the mental health of the workers, like a department that offers some kind of counseling, some kind of
maybe an
guidance,
annex
some
of
kind of
the
advice.
human resource department.
Yes, you can actually.
Exactly, yes, like an annex, like under that department.
But
This
I
one
don't
just
think we should be
focuses more
particular
on
about the
human
HR because
well-being.
there's so much to do already.
Yeah, what
Yeah,
with you? What with you, sorry?
Yeah, the human well-being. It focuses on the human well because it's very rare in Nigeria. I've been in settings where you're given a task to complete, and you have some challenges which are very, very these challenges are like they are justifiable, and you're not even listened to. You're treated like they just take it as this person doesn't want to work. That's how they see it. And like you had pointed out, the economic situation now forces people into all sorts of jobs, even demeaning jobs, just to make money, just to make a living. So I think the economic situation also impacts the kind of work people do, impact the kind of mental state employers are, because employers take advantage of our economic situation. They know that they, in their mind, they know that this person will not get a job elsewhere. He only has me. Therefore, I will treat him like garbage.
Yeah.
So that's how they just agree and they just act anyhow. They don't even listen to you. I know someone that has been working for a person for a while, and whenever he texts his boss to just inform him on some new development, the man reads his messages, he doesn't reply. It's just like he didn't say anything, just like it doesn't exist. And this keeps lingering. Before you know it, it results to another mental challenge. So there should be an orientation first, and the government should also emphasize on mental well-being in the workplace. Every institution, private or public, should have a department focused on the mental states of their workers. Maybe once in a week, every worker should be obliged to go there and seek for some kind of attention. They should focus on, okay, how has your week been? How was Monday? How was Tuesday? What challenge did you go through? What caused this? What this? Then everybody will be able to voice out. They should be confident to talk, comfortable enough to express themselves. So I think this is a task for everyone, literally.
All right, sir. Thank you. We're wrapping up soon, but I want to ask this question. It's stemming from the conversation we just had before this particular question. You mentioned competition. Now, amongst co-workers, generally, competition is supposed to be a fuel to actually, be more productive, make you better, hit your goals and all of that. And there's something called healthy and unhealthy competition. But now you've mentioned that there's the thin line between competition and the one that can actually lead to anxiety. So what advice would you give to an ambitious, worker, probably even a new worker who is just trying to, probably just do well for themselves, keep her job, be competitive, but not slide, or glide into anxiety? What advice would you give? Or should they not be competitive and just do things at mediocre level?
No, there should be some sort of competition. Of course, we live in a capitalist world, so everybody's striving to be better than the rest. But I think the focal point is every worker should avoid perfectionism.
Okay, that's a better word.
Avoid perfectionism. Recognize that being perfect is very unrealistic.
Very.
No human being can be perfect. No worker can be perfect. You cannot meet all demands. You cannot do all the jobs. So accept the fact that I would only contribute my quota. I would only progress how I can progress. I will only be helpful where I can help. So we should remove the notion of, no, I must do this, I have to do this, I have to have everything, I have to be able to. There are people that want to do 5 jobs just to show how efficient they are. There are people that want to do jobs of others. There are people that want to do extra. So you just accept your place. Know that I cannot go beyond this and do what you cannot go beyond. Yes, there's no limit for anything, but know your capacity. Know that this is where I can function and this is where I cannot function. So I think that once we recognize that fact, we will reduce this unnecessary competition. Competition is good for growth.
Yeah.
That's the healthy one, but the unhealthy one is not good at all. It can result to the largest problem of anxiety, which will lead to depression and trauma. So I think we should first identify that I cannot be perfect. It's not realistic. It's not real. It's not possible to do it perfectly. Mistakes must be made.
Yeah.
When I used to write articles initially, when I first started, sometimes when I read my articles after it took me like 2 days to write, I'll discover that I made a very little mistake. Then I'll become anxious. I'll be like, how can I make this mistake? After 2 days of writing. Yeah, like how can I? But until I recognize that I must make mistakes. That's what makes me human. I'm not a god or a supernatural being that's perfect. I'm human, so I must make little mistakes. So the important thing is when I make mistakes, I should be able to identify the mistakes and address them, but not to live with the notion that I cannot make mistakes. I cannot. No, it's not possible.
All right.
The realistic notion is mistakes.
All right, that's the most we can take. Thank you. This conversation has been very insightful. And one thing we're leaving here with is to foster unity in the workplace. Every work institution, private and public, should ensure that mental health is given the due recognition. Thank you for staying with us till tomorrow, again 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. This is still Ways Breakfast. Have a great day.